Many biopics, such as Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, portray Bruce Lee as a child prodigy who began his kung fu training under the legendary Yip Man at just 9 years old. This popular narrative suggests Bruce lived and trained as a dedicated disciple for over a decade within the secluded walls of a temple. While this makes for a compelling origin story, the reality of his early years is far more complex and gritty. The cinematic tale tells us Bruce was Yip Man's sole protege, molded in an isolated sanctuary, but the truth is much more fascinating. Bruce was not introduced to Wing Chun by his father, nor was he the only student under Yip Man's tutelage. So how did Bruce Lee truly embark on his martial arts path? And why, after only about a year of direct instruction, did Yip Man cease to be his primary teacher? Behind these enduring myths, like cultural friction, envious peers, and rivalries that would ultimately define Bruce Lee's entire philosophy. Let's pull back the curtain on the real story. Before the world knew him as a martial arts icon, Bruce Lee was already a familiar face on screen. He made his film debut as an infant, just 3 months old, and grew up in front of the cameras, becoming a bona fide star in Hong Kong's bustling cinema industry. By the time he set sail for the United States at 18, he had already accumulated an impressive list of nearly 20 film roles. However, the glamour of the movie sets was a world away from the harshness of his everyday reality. Growing up in the crowded, post-war environment of Hong Kong, Bruce was surrounded by poverty and escalating gang violence. The cinematic world offered a temporary escape, but the streets demanded resilience, strength, and often a willingness to fight. By his early teens, Bruce was deeply acquainted with the perils of his neighborhood. For survival, he and his friends formed a gang known as the Junction Street Tigers. This wasn't merely teenage rebellion. It was a necessary shield in a city where powerful triad syndicates held significant sway, often targeting or recruiting young boys. As a minor celebrity, Bruce was a particularly attractive target for these groups. Recruiting a well-known child actor would bring a triad prestige, while for a young member, humiliating a star like Bruce could fast-track their rise within the organization. For Bruce, street brawling was a fundamental part of life. His innate athleticism and competitive fire made him a formidable scrapper, but a series of brutal confrontations soon revealed the limits of relying solely on raw aggression. After one especially severe beating, Bruce realized he needed more than just guts and a gang. He needed a structured, effective fighting system that could give him control over both his body and his mind. This pivotal realization would steer him toward the disciplined art of Wing Chun Kung Fu, setting him on a path that would change everything. But Bruce's journey into martial arts didn't start with Wing Chun. His first foray into combat arts was through his father, and it ended in a humiliating defeat that showed him just how unprepared he really was. What was this gentle art that failed him in a real fight? And what crucial lesson did he learn just before seeking out Yip Man? The answers revealed the true spark that ignited his legendary obsession with practical, real-world combat.
Before Bruce Lee ever set foot in Yip Man school, his martial arts education had already begun, though not in the way you might imagine. As a child, his initial exposure came from his father, Chun, a celebrated Cantonese opera performer. From him, Bruce learned the basics of Tai Chi, an internal martial art renowned for its slow, flowing movements focused on balance and internal energy. However, for a headstrong teenager navigating Hong Kong's volatile streets, Tai Chi's philosophical and gentle approach felt disconnected from the demands of a real fight. Bruce once attempted to use Tai Chi's deliberate movements in a street altercation, and while he was posturing, his opponent simply pummeled him. This early experience with Tai Chi felt less like combat training and more like a cultural formality, a way to spend time with his father's circle. Bruce wasn't interested in form. He was driven by a need to win. He was also exposed to Hung Gar, a powerful Southern Chinese style, known for its deep, strong stances and explosive strikes, often through his father's connections on the sets of Wong Fei Hung films. While Hung Gar was visually impressive and potent, Bruce later found its traditional forms lacking when he needed them most in a flash confrontation. Though he dabbled in these styles, they consistently proved inadequate for the unpredictable nature of Hong Kong's back alleys. The streets required something faster, more direct, and ruthlessly efficient. Bruce was about to discover just how insufficient his training was during a schoolyard clash that would serve as a brutal wake-up call. The popular story suggests Bruce began training under Yip Man after a fight at LaSalle College. The reality is more intense. Bruce found himself in a confrontation that escalated far beyond a typical schoolboy scuffle. He had severely injured the son of a powerful triad leader. In the ensuing fight, Bruce's raw aggression took over, and the triad chief's son was knocked out. The fallout was immediate and dangerous. Rumors swirled the triad members were waiting for Bruce after school, forcing him to barricade himself in the teacher's lounge to escape an ambush. This incident likely contributed to his eventual expulsion and transfer to St. Francis Xavier's College, a school located just blocks away from Yip Man's Kung Fu school. But this wasn't the end of his troubles. Soon after, Bruce was confronted by William Chung, a classmate who would later become a renowned Wing Chun master. Chung, acting on behalf of the injured party, challenged Bruce to a fight. Despite his experience in street brawls, Tai Chi, and Hung Gar, Bruce was utterly outclassed by Chung's precise and controlled Wing Chun techniques. It was a humiliating defeat that left Bruce with more than just bruises. It shattered his pride and forced him to seek answers. Humiliated and desperate for the secret to William Chung's unbeatable skill, Bruce demanded to know the source of his power. This demand led him directly to the door of Yip Man's school. But his first encounter was not with the Grand Master, and it didn't go as he expected. What happened when a skeptical Bruce Lee mocked the basic Wing Chun stance? And how did a single, breathtaking demonstration completely change his perspective? The moment that transformed a street brawler into a dedicated student is coming up next.
Intrigued by his defeat, Bruce asked William Chung how he remained undefeated in street fights. Chung's answer was simple: follow me. He led Bruce to Yip Man's Wing Chun school, a pivotal moment that would redirect Bruce's life. However, upon arrival, Bruce did not meet the legendary Grandmaster. Instead, he was greeted by Yip Man's senior student and chief instructor, a man named Chu Chung. Known as the King of Siu Nim Tao for his mastery of the first form, Chu was responsible for introducing newcomers to the fundamentals. As they faced each other, Bruce couldn't hide his skepticism. Having analyzed fighting styles through his street brawls and Hung Gar training, he was a tough critic. When Chu demonstrated the basic upright Wing Chun stance, Bruce was openly unimpressed, pointing out that its paralleled footing seemed to leave it vulnerable to a simple kick. Rather than argue, Chu listened calmly and issued a quiet challenge. "If you think the stance is weak, then try to kick me." Bruce hesitated, joking that Chu might get angry if the kick connected. With unshakable assurance, Chu repeated the invitation. Still skeptical but curious, Bruce launched a kick. In a flash, Chu deflected the blow with his forearm and delivered a sharp strike to Bruce's leg, sending him crashing to the floor. In that instant, lying humbled on the ground, Bruce understood the profound effectiveness of Wing Chun. What had seemed static and weak was in fact a foundation for devastating precision and control. He had found what he was looking for. Bruce was eventually accepted as a student, partly because Yip Man was a fan of his films and recognized his potential. For the first year, around the age of 15, Bruce received direct instruction from Yip Man himself, a rare privilege. The Grandmaster saw a unique spark in the young actor. However, as Bruce's skills grew, the primary role of instructing him fell to the school's top fighter, Wang Shenluang. Wang's practical, combat-focused approach resonated deeply with Bruce, who was still primarily interested in dominating his peers in street fights. But this rapid progress created tension. The school, once a haven for older working-class men seeking discipline, was now being influenced by a wave of younger, brasher students like Bruce.
The older students saw them as disruptive, turning a sanctuary into a competitive arena. Jealousy festered over the special attention Bruce received from both Yip Man and Wang Shanlong. The hostility went beyond mere jealousy. Bruce was mixed heritage. His mother, Grace Ho, was Eurasian, with ancestry that was part Chinese and part European. In an era where traditional Chinese arts were fiercely guarded, this made Bruce a target for deep-seated prejudice. Many older students believed Wing Chun should only be taught to those of pure Chinese descent. This bias created a toxic environment where Bruce was aggressively targeted during training drills like Chisao, sticking hands, which often turned into genuine fights where he was overwhelmed by older, stronger opponents. Many refused to train with him at all, and whispers demanding his expulsion grew into open protests. Bruce, frustrated by the constant harassment, became fanatical in his training, practicing for hours to overcome the bullying. The one being bullied was the one who could not be beaten. The prejudice and infighting within the school reached a boiling point, creating an environment where Bruce could no longer train effectively. Faced with a mutiny from his senior students, Yip Man was forced to make a difficult decision about Bruce's future. What was the strategic move that allowed Bruce to continue his training while preserving peace in the school? The answer involves his most trusted fighter and a secret new training location, which you'll discover in the next part.
The pressure on Yip Man to expel Bruce had become unbearable. To resolve the conflict, Yip Man made a strategic decision. He would not formally banish Bruce, but he would entrust his further training to his most trusted senior student, Wang Shanlong, outside the main school. This move was a masterstroke. It allowed Bruce to continue his education, ensured Yip Man still received tuition, and restored harmony among the senior students. From that point on, Bruce's training moved to a new, no-frills location, the apartment of Wang Shanlong's father. Here, free from the drama and hostility of the main school, Bruce's skills were sharpened with intense focus. Training under Wang was exactly what Bruce needed. Wang, a veteran of Hong Kong's infamous rooftop challenge matches, was known as the king of talking hands for his unmatched practical skills. His teaching was stripped of all but the most essential, combat-proven techniques. This direct, efficiency-first approach perfectly matched Bruce's desire to win real fights. Bruce's dedication became relentless. He trained for hours each day, and according to some accounts, he would even provoke confrontations on the street, dressed in traditional clothes, to test his skills against unsuspecting challengers. For Bruce, this wasn't mere troublemaking, it was the only way to gain true, unscripted combat experience. His training with Wang quickly produced results. In 1958, Bruce entered an inter-school boxing competition. Constrained by boxing rules and padded gloves, he still managed to win by swarming his opponent with a modified, relentless version of Wing Chun punching. Not long after, he participated in 2 BMO fights, rooftop, illegal, no-holds-barred challenges held in secret. After winning his first match easily, his second was a brutal test. He was bloodied and shaken in the first round, considering quitting, but Wang Shanlong urged him on. In the second round, Bruce unleashed a furious chain of punches, knocking his opponent out cold. This victory was a testament to his skill and his unbreakable will to overcome adversity. While Wing Chun was his foundation, Bruce's genius lay in his refusal to be confined by it. The principles of directness, efficiency, and centerline theory that he learned from Yip Man became the bedrock upon which he built his own philosophy, Jeet Kune Do. He absorbed concepts from Western boxing, fencing, and other martial arts, always asking what works in a real fight. His famous straight lead punch was a fusion of Wing Chun's theory and a fencer's lunge. He famously advised to be like water, a concept rooted in Taoist philosophy that he expanded through his studies of Eastern and Western thinkers, advocating for adaptability and personal expression. Bruce Lee's legacy is a powerful reminder that with relentless passion and a refusal to be bound by tradition, we can overcome any obstacle and create something truly extraordinary. Bruce Lee's early training forged him into a formidable fighter, but his journey was far from over. What drove him to leave Hong Kong for America? And how did this young man with a handful of kung fu knowledge go on to revolutionize martial arts across the globe? In our next deep dive, we explore the struggles and breakthroughs that defined Bruce Lee's American journey. A story of rejection, innovation, and ultimate triumph. Don't miss the next chapter that changed the face of combat forever.